into positions of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America. No, no, no. Not God Bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating us citizens as less than human. God damn America as long as she tries to act like she is God and she is supreme.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pod Damn America, the Gothic podcast for socialist, stupid children, etc. Hi, I'm Jake Flores. That's Anders J. Lee.
Anders J. Lee here.
Anders, I've got a crazy story for you. My life is fucking insane. It's a movie, dude. The weirdest fucking thing happened to me yesterday, which is, remember that really hot Houthi pirate guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he went viral for being a hot pirate.
I do.
So he's on Twitter and he I don't know, he's just online. He makes little videos where he's a hot pirate, and it's, that's it basically. He DM'd me the other day, right?
Wow. Very
Isn't that
lucrative.
crazy?
A lot of ladies, podcasters too, want that DM, but you got it. Wow.
I got it for some reason. And I was like, hi.
Did he say anything about Target gift cards and
No.
financial worries? He warn you about anything that you have to put your money on this?
He's a pirate, so it would make sense, right?
Yeah.
That's how they operate now. Instead of cannons, it's like much less sexy. It's with Target gift cards. No, he just said, hey. And so I was like, hey, how's it going, man? Big fan, and I was like, hey, man. And I kind of wasn't sure like who I was talking to at first because I hadn't thought about this guy in like 2 years. And I went like, hey, you're the pirate, right? You're the one that went on the Hassan Piker stream. And he was like, yes.
That's right. He was on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was like, well, nice to meet you. And he was like, can you get me to Hassan? And I was like, why? I'm like, sure, I don't know, I'll DM him or something. And he was like, eventually he was like, I'm trying to get some money together for a thing. And after a while I started to kind of put together, and I started to ask other people that he was following and were following him about it, and it sounds like he got hacked. And his accounts get taken down a lot because of who he is and all the publicity he got and stuff. I've looked into this, doing a little research on it. Eventually, apparently he keeps getting deplatformed, and this time he got hacked. I think he has an account on Twitter. It is him, but he got hacked, and he has a GoFundMe thing going on that he linked me to, and they've raised like $33,000 of like $100,000 goal. I don't know if that is him or not. Like, that's alarming if it's a fake guy. I also am not 100% sure he got hacked. This might just be the guy. In which case, sorry to blow up your spot, hot Houthi pirate. This is just a very funny story because I'm just a person. So every once in a while, I'm like sitting at a coffee shop and someone's like, what's going on with you? And I'm like, oh, nothing. I'm talking to the hot Houthi pirate. Remember him? Isn't that weird?
Very weird.
He posted the GoFundMe though on his feed after I talked to him, and the caption was just like, it just says, "Thank you to all the Jews." I don't know what that means.
Okay.
So I'm sure it's like someone in an entirely different foreign country doing, this is going through 3 lenses of interpretation and getting all telephoned out or whatever. But anyways, if you get a DM from the hot Houthi pirate, it's not him. He got hacked, I think.
It could be that there's with this ceasefire deal, Yemen is being roped in somehow, and their pirate community is maybe potentially going to be like prosecuted by the Israeli state or something. So he's trying to get ahead of it and be like, big fan of Jews, love all of them,
Yeah.
all over the world. See how much I have accepted. See, I'm in the pocket of Jewry. So I am not, yes, I am not someone you have to worry about. That's interesting. It reminds me of, and I'll preface this by saying these are two very different people. Journalism and piracy often have a lot of similarities, but they are fundamentally different things, and these are different individuals.
Look
But
at me. I am the editor-in-chief now.
yes, Montader al-Zahidi, the shoe guy, as he's known in the West, who is, people forget, he was a journalist who threw his shoe at George W. Bush, kind of a gonzo style, Hunter S. Thompson would do things like take acid and interview people. This was his Iraqi version of that.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, he's awesome. I've tried to get in touch. I have messaged with him on Twitter several times about setting up an interview. For some reason, his number just doesn't come up on my WhatsApp. I don't know if it's a problem with WhatsApp or what, but I've tried like 3 or 4 times. I've gotten his number and tried to enter it and just like won't accept it. But our buddy Chris Bell just sat down and interviewed him. Well, I don't know if they sat with each other, but he just had an interview with him that I'm very curious about. By the way, shout out Chris Bell, whose new short, The Confection, is now been unleashed this for Halloween season. Check out his short movie. It's really good. Our friend Alex Patak is in it, as well as Simone Norman. But at some point, yeah, we'll get Mr. Al-Zahidi on the show, maybe with the Yemeni pirate, and they'll both be like, why am I talking to this guy who I have nothing to do with? But it will be an entertaining show nonetheless.
Anything could happen. The amount of interactions like that I have in my life that are like someone is on the news and then they're just also, for some reason they know me, is it's really bananas. I should probably take advantage of it more because I could get some really strange people in here. Strange in all various ways, not even saying that as because like the shoe guy, great, he's cool, right? Not to disparage him. The pirate, excellent work. But it's
John
just
McAfee.
yeah, right. He was in here. And now he's dead, allegedly. Anyways, let's talk about some things going on in the world today. You might have seen the so the Texas National Guard got sent to Chicago, and they released a photo of the Texas National Guard. They released this great photo of the Texas National Guard, like, what do you call it, deplaning or whatever, getting off the helicopter, and it's supposed to look like all, intimidating and military action movie style, and they're all big fat guys with like 70s mustaches. They look like the Bears guys, which is like they're going to Chicago. It makes sense.
They're trying to blend in. That's what they had to. Yeah, they've been prepping for this for years, just putting on weight.
Yeah. And like it's hilarious. So this picture of them got dunked on real hard. And according to our fucking pal Ken Klippenstein, I was reading about this today and some stuff that he put out. They got recalled because of Pete Hegseth's fucking standards for health and fitness in the military. So that's fucking funny. Oh God, what else is going on? There's a couple other things happening. The frog thing is escalated to just a new level of culture war. Now people in the post-left kind of internet world are mad that people are doing frog stuff in Portland against ICE. I think this is very stupid because the original frog, inflatable suit frog guy who went viral for being in a frog suit while protesting ICE, is Mexican. So I think it's weird to tell Mexican people how to protest ICE. Personally, if you're a fucking weird, angry white person on the internet, that's my 2 cents on that whole thing.
Why are they mad about it? Are frogs liberal?
Because it's not violent. And someone quote tweeted like a picture of all the inflatable suit people saying, this is really what happened. A liberal quote tweeted a picture of all these like inflatable suit protesters and said, this is great. Portland is protesting the right way nonviolently. Now that person obviously dumb, liberal, doesn't understand what anything, how history works and stuff. They've been indoctrinated to tell us to be nonviolent because it works against our own interests. We talk about this every time there's a fucking round of protests, right? But it's that person is wrong, not the people that show up in those fucking suits. Those people are actually out there. They're always out there, by the way. Every time there's a huge fucking battle with police and ICE, there's some fucking people out there that go and do stuff like that, and they're not making a statement by doing. They're not saying you have to do this. They're often also like sometimes those fucking people are the people that are able to like help you with fucking medical stuff, and like they do all sorts of other things. Everyone has a fucking part to play. There's a guy on rollerblades. Somebody was telling me about it a thing a while back who like, would grab you and fucking de-arrest you because he was on fucking rollerblades, and he looked like a goofball. He looked like the guy from fucking Reno 911, and it was part of his thing, was looking goofy. But anyways,
it's also like there's obviously a mask, so they can't identify your face, and they also don't even know where your face is, because if you're just wearing a mask, the cops can like hit you over the head or try to get you with tear gas by aiming at your face. You don't know where the face is if somebody's in one of those suits. Like it could be a short person, and
cops
it's
are
like
dumb.
Yeah. They're probably going to go for the
person.
actual head of the costume, not realizing that it's not an actual frog.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like a goofy inflatable thing, so they're gonna punch it and be like boing, 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 and it's it's hilarious. There's also something to be said, I think, arguably, for the spectacle that they're making, because the the take in defense of what these goofy ass Portland improv student people are doing is that Trump is justifying all this by like showing fucking footage from 2020 mostly of trying to depict like crime being out of control and trying to depict these cities as already being a war zone, quote unquote, right, to use their fucking word, as justification for sending the National Guard in. So if there's nothing, if you do this to an extent that the image cannot really be altered, like there's no way to spin it, it looks fucking goofy, and it kind of derails that narrative. Arguably, it's also maybe just something that like there is nothing to dissect here. This is not the thing that we should be arguing about. It's just going to happen. It doesn't matter. I don't know. I just figured I'd mention that up top because it's been on my mind, and this is a pro anti-fascist frog podcast in the culture war. Everyone's taking their stances on the frog, and I'm a comrade of the frog. I think he's cool, or they are cool. They got doxxed. They're a non-binary Mexican person. They're queer and Mexican. Shut the fuck up. Don't tell them how to fucking protest ICE. Anyways, but more importantly, a billionaire was just killed. A CEO worth, 305 million millionaire killed in a horrific ATV accident at his sprawling family farm. The Lending Tree CEO, his name is Doug Lebda, died in a freak accident on an ATV. So that's pretty funny.
How freak was that accident? Do we know if he ran into another ATV or fell off or the ATV exploded?
Here's what I think. I think it was just a regular accident, and it's embarrassing for him that he just crashed his ATV. So it has to be a freak accident in the news, right? But if you crash an ATV, that's you're already doing extreme sports. You elected to do that, so you just fucked up and died.
I wonder if any dyslexic people read that headline and think it was a value-added tax freak accident.
Maybe somebody who plays the video game Fallout too much thinks he got killed by the VATS system. You're not gonna get that joke, Anders.
We're really both in our lanes and parallel to one another, and then we have a freak accident. They try to coincide, and they crash, and Lending Tree CEO dies.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh God, what the fuck else is going on before we get into this thing I want to talk about? There's the Turning Point USA is having their own halftime show. It's fucking stupid. Because they've decided that Bad Bunny is somehow an attack on them, so they're gonna have a Ted Nugent halftime show with it says a guest appearance from Measles, which I'm assuming is a band, but it could just be that they're all not vaxxed.
It's called me. Okay, did you see the Laura Trump song. I think it was Laura Trump. It was a Trump femme
Yeah, yeah.
of the
I didn't
Trump
even know
tree.
she's like a new one. I didn't know she
Yeah,
existed.
they spawned her out of somewhere. Apparently, I don't know if it's a blood relation thing or a marriage thing, but her voice is absolutely dreadful, and the song is clearly using AI and effects, and it almost sounds like auto-tuned, but they don't bother making her voice sound good. It was a very strange choice. It's a haunting, sonic experience, and it kind of reminded me of what I consider to be a very good song, um, that apologies if I've talked about this before, but Scarlett Johansson's cover of Tom Waits's "Falling Down," which she did a whole album covering Tom Waits songs, and
You
most
have
of them are
talked about
dog
this
shit.
before.
Yeah, this one really works because her voice is so monotone, and whoever produced it did a really good job. But that was before you started like auto tuning and like correcting and like doing had AI shit, and they just let her die on the vine with this terrible, terrible song.
Well, Anthony Fantano Lee, everyone, giving his hot music takes. Our friend Sarah Squirm is in hot water for doing a character on SNL that's a lady from Long Island, and the whole bit she did on the Weekend Update part was making fun of people in New York who claim to be afraid of Zoran Mamdani's policies, and it's a whole funny thing. She does a character, and she sort of makes fun of the fact that they're Islamophobic and whatnot. And the character's name is like Riza Deliza something Serencia. I can't remember what the fucking name is, but it's an over-the-top Italian name. And New York Post type people are trying to take her down for being anti-Semitic. She's Jewish, and this is a Italian character she's playing.
Yeah,
But she is a pro-Palestine person, so they're trying to make her anti-Semitic. Doesn't make any
Fonda
sense.
Licenzo for the record. Which, yeah,
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, I'm sure that this was an intentional choice because they probably thought about we should do like an anti-Zoran person. There are a lot of just women and men in that age bracket in New York and the surrounding area who do not like Zoran, and many of them are Jewish, but also a shitload of them are various forms of Catholic, including Italian. But
Sarah
they were
Squirm,
they probably considered it, and they were like, we have to go Italian, and it didn't even matter.
it didn't even matter. Yeah, they will call you anti-Semitic anyway. People, and also honestly, and the way that anti-Italian racism is downplayed in our society it's a real discussion we need to have on the show. Sarah Squirm, comrade of ours, friend of the show, did do one of my jokes. She stole one of my jokes a minute and 45 seconds into the bit on Twitter. She says, "You gone to be kidding me," while in character as this Italian lady. And listen, it's a good joke. I'll let you have it. You can forward me the profit, the royalties you make off of it, Sarah. I know you're listening.
I mean, it was also by an
Anyways.
Italian originally, Chelsea Peretti, so a full circle on the Italian pizza pie.
Not Chelsea Peretti. It was one of the blonde lady ones. No shit, I can't remember her name now because you said Chelsea Peretti.
It was
It's
Chelsea Peretti.
who the no, it's not. I believe me. I've talked about this a lot. It's not Chelsea.
Oh, right,
Peretti.
it is
It's
Handler.
fucking what's her
Okay, I
face.
don't know why did I think it was Peretti. I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
it was a name of a Peretti special, but no, it is Handler.
Because we're talking about Italian people, and you
Yeah.
have an anti-Italian white fragility that you need to deal with. What the fuck else is going on? Sorry, I'm doing rapid fire before we get into this. We should probably talk at length about this, but it looks like there's a lot of propaganda being rolled out to manufacture consent for invading Venezuela and overthrowing the government there. There's a lot to be said there, but it's starting to approach some pretty spooky levels. Nick Fuentes went on Red Scare. Nobody watches that shit. I think there's probably one more thing to get to.
Well,
No,
can
let's
I
get the fuck into it.
well, are we gonna talk about the ceasefire deal?
Yeah, and then I've got my
Okay.
other thing.
I had a
Do you wanna
smooth
go
way of
first?
yeah, I'll do a smooth segue into that. So Venezuela,
Everyone pretend
there
like none of this conversation happened. Smooth segue happening now.
retroactive. It's yeah, going back in that full Italian circle of time. But there is a Nobel Peace Prize that was bestowed on a Venezuelan resistance leader Miss Machado, I believe her name is, and she is,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, if people thought Joanna Hausman, who we parodied once upon a time, was like,
Venezuela.
yeah, if you thought she was intense, this woman is just like vehemently pro-Israel and just like clearly a very right-wing figure when they're trying to paint the opposition, quote unquote, as like just for lowercase l liberal values. But that I think may have inspired Trump a little bit. He saw that and said, she got the Nobel Peace Prize. You know who else got the Nobel Peace Prize? Obama, just for
Mhm.
becoming the president. He did nothing. He just had at that point had started to accelerate the war on terror, and he gets a Nobel Peace Prize aspirationally. Like they were at the time, they were like, we really want you to see the light and have a more relaxed American empire and not surge all these troops into Afghanistan, which he of course wound up doing. But Trump, I think, wants a Nobel Prize because and because he's seen how easy it is to get, and it's big and gold and
Yeah.
shiny. So he wants in on this. So he has brokered a ceasefire agreement, which
Oh, right. Yeah, that's why he's doing it. That makes sense.
yeah, which it was came out today. There have been hostages who have been released on both sides, but it was met with a firebombing campaign in Gaza City. The IDF targeted, according to Drop Site, homes, food stores, and a sewage treatment plant, which is the last facility capable of processing Gaza City's wastewater. And we're in the social media age, right? Where everybody and I've been thinking today about what's changed since Obama was president. I remember around that time there was Operation Cast Lead, and like a lot of the same stuff, like war crimes, were committed, and it seemed like nobody cared about it because nobody knew about it, right? It was not like that. That is sort of the silver lining to TikTok and social media and everybody being glued into their phones is just there's way more access to information. So there is uh like there it turns out people are upset by that. And if you have a little more popular demand for certain information, then it gets out and it winds up being unstoppable in terms of public opinion, if not the actual conflict itself, or the genocide. But these soldiers in from Israel are posting about this as they're lighting a sewage treatment plant on fire, and they're saying these are the final touches we're putting on this genocide. And one last memory was apparently one of the posts as
One
well.
last memory.
Yeah.
It's like something Trump would say to Jeffrey Epstein or something.
Yeah, that would probably be in his birthday card to him. Probably, yeah. Before Epstein got put away, that was probably the birthday card from Trump. But this is again a drop site, which we should say we didn't get to this, but Bari Weiss, as we're pronouncing her name,
Bari. We
it's
have to
only
say it
one
like
R.
NoHo Hank from Barry.
Yeah,
Bari.
right. And that's kind of like a lot of old people pronounce Barry that way, and I like it. And I think especially if you're only going to do one R, then it's got to be a hard R, Bari.
Don't say that.
But she's that, yeah, that may be applicable to her as well, the other hard R. But she has taken over CBS, and it's already off to a rocky start. She sent out this memo that was like, tell me what you're doing. This is like very similar to the Elon Musk memo that went out via email to all these federal employees when Trump was inaugurated back in January. It was like, what are you doing? Justify yourself. Um, and like that email, it was ignored. The WGA, which represents CBS employees, was like, you do not have to respond to this. So I am hoping this is a rocky tenure at CBS. I could see it ending like her time at the New York Times, where she had this great lucrative position that people would kill for, and then she just like gets triggered really and decides to just go off and quit in angst. But I am kind of sad about this, not because I'm like a big fan of CBS, but I am in particular fan of one show, and that is 60 Minutes, which is not to say that they are above reproach by any means. They have produced a whole lot of propaganda over the years. The Havana Syndrome, they did a story on that. But they do really good journalism, and they have historically done really penetrating, interesting profiles on notable people, reportage on corporate intrigue and problems with the economy and corporate malfeasance. They have consistently been pro empire, and that I have noticed has gotten worse just over the past year or so. This I watched for a little bit yesterday, Sunday evening, and they were just doing like China. We gotta be prepared for China to just take over the United States. They're doing all these like cell tower things or whatever. So it's the even more. That's like seems like it's most of the show now, and I could definitely see that being the case. But anyway, looping back to the ceasefire deal, I bring this up because Dropsite, which is reporting on this, they also did a takedown of the Free Press, which is Barry Weiss's her sort of like backup. If she doesn't like CBS, you can just go home to the Free Press, which is this outlet she started for other Barry Weisses throughout America and the world who come there and write stories that do things like try to debunk the deaths of children because of starvation in Gaza. They, I'm sure many of our listeners remember a few weeks ago they had this expose where they were saying, oh, these kids who you saw on the news or on TikTok and were starving, they actually had pre-existing conditions. So you don't need to feel bad about that because they were already sick for some other reason. And of course, the main rejoinder of that is like, well, yeah, of course, in a famine, the first people who are going to die and suffer the most are people with pre-existing illnesses. But even that doesn't even fully explain why this is such a. I said explain in such a. It's kind of an intellectual pronunciation. I was starting to say
cool. I like
explain.
it. Lean into it. Make it your thing. Yeah.
But Bari explain. But this journalism they did doesn't account for the fact that many of these pre-existing conditions happened because of Israel's war crimes. Kids haven't been able to go to hospitals to get these conditions treated because those hospitals have been bombed.
Right.
Like you can't just like isolate this and say it doesn't matter. We'll see if they respond to this piece. I kind of doubt it.
Israel is so fucking evil. You know what I was just reading about today? Do you know about the Hannibal Directive?
Yes.
That shit?
Yeah, we should talk. Yeah, we should do something on the show about that at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, in short, it's like it's a law basically that allows them to or permits the IDF to murder Israelis if it deems it necessary while attacking, brown people or whatever.
Right.
And it was recently declassified that they did hella Hannibal Directive shit on October 7th. So they killed a fucking ton of Israelis in the process, and that's probably why the numbers are so high on October 7th. I'm fucking sure Hamas killed a bunch of people too, but like I'm sure that's probably part of it, is getting to inflate the deaths of their own fucking side in the process.
Yeah.
Demented fucking law from a demented state that shouldn't exist.
Do we know that why it's called that? Because my intuition would say that because of Hannibal the Cannibal and they're cannibalizing their own civilians, I would think.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, it's because of it's because you do it with the fine Chianti. I don't know. I was honestly, when I was reading about this, I remember there is an explanation, and I think it has to do with the Hannibal, the ancient general, because I think he did something famously where he killed some of his own troops in the process of winning a war. Off the top of my head, that's what it sounds like.
So maybe that's why the cannibal is called that. That makes sense.
Actually, I'm getting word that it's named after Hannibal Buress because he's a landlord, so he tends to destroy his own people in that way, right?
Mm,
It's also
that makes
because
sense.
he I'm trying to think of something from the fucking show and I can't. Okay, fuck it.
He took down Bill Cosby, which I don't want to call that cannibalization because they're anyway, under the deal,
There's a comedian
according
taking out another comedian. That kind of
there you
makes
go.
sense.
Thank you.
The
Yes, yes.
Hannibal directive. Yeah.
Right.
It's justified, you know?
Yeah.
All right.
But according to the New York Times, under the deal, at least 600 trucks of supplies will enter Gaza per day, and the Rafah border crossing is going to be opened up again. But the most interesting part of this, in terms of like political intrigue, is that Bibi is continuing to say that his government will not agree to fully end the war until Hamas, as a government and as a military wing, are dismantled. And to be clear, ceasefire does not mean ending the war, right? Those are two different
Mhm.
things. This is maybe a step towards that, but the war could always continue. The violence could continue. But Trump, because he wants this peace prize, is contradicting Netanyahu. He said in an interview today, "The war is over. The war is over. The war is over." Okay? Do you understand that? And he adds, "The ceasefire is going to hold, and we're going to make sure it holds." Netanyahu has not been present
Getting
at some
my
of these.
goddamn Nobel Prize.
Yeah,
If you don't fucking get in my way, baby. The thing is, you have
right.
to make it about his own vanity. This is literally like I
Yeah.
predicted this on the fucking show. I told you it was going to be
Mm,
him realizing there's a fucking opportunity for him to be the guy who goes down in history, making the deal with Hamas and all that stuff. And
right.
then somebody
And
yelled
this
at me
is
about Hamas, but
if
anyway.
if you go back to like 2017, I remember when he was inaugurated, he was saying like this would be a beauty, a deal between the Palestinians and the Israelis. That would be just amazing. Like he was drooling talking about the deal that was supposedly going to be made.
Because it's like the biggest deal. Yeah, no one can do it.
Right.
It's so
And
tempting for him.
I remember him saying on 60 Minutes, mind you, he said that one side he thinks doesn't actually want to make the deal, but he didn't want to say which side it was.
Wow, I
And
wonder which one it was.
yeah,
He's like not smart, so he's trying to keep a secret there, but giving it
right.
away.
Yeah. but but so obviously BB wants Hamas gone, or at least that's what he's saying. His track record is not on that par, but he the Hamas themselves have said that they are willing to hand over civilian rule to another Palestinian entity, likely the PA. And they have not committed to giving up weapons, but they this whole time have been very flexible about like we don't need to be in charge. We just want some semblance of dignity for the people of Gaza. But Netanyahu has not been present at some of these negotiations, and some of the more high-profile ones where there's a lot of press and media, pictures being taken, and officially he's saying, "Well, there's a Jewish holiday going on right now." But Trump has himself said, "I have had some disputes with Netanyahu, and they were quickly settled." Um, which I wonder what that's about. Obviously, not the most honest person in the world, Donald J. Trump. But I would not be surprised if he told Bibi to stand down on some stuff, which was not something that Joe Biden was willing to do. We know now that there was zero pushback on anything Netanyahu wanted to do starting in 2023. So that
Well, hear me out, right?
yeah.
Okay, so we're all mad at Joe Biden, right? Because he, facilitated the genocide and everything. But you're Joe Biden, right? You know you're going to lose the election to Donald Trump. And you know that Donald Trump only responds to reverse psychology. So if you're Joe Biden and you are like, I'm trying to stop this war or this genocide, when Trump gets into the office, he's going to be like, well, Biden was trying to stop the genocide. Therefore, I got to make the genocide more. So what he did brilliantly was put the gas pedal to the floor and be very pro-genocide so that he knew when Trump got into office, he would go, Joe Biden liked the genocide. Now I'm against it. So now we all have to hand it to the masterful gambit of Joe Biden for reverse psychology Donald Trump into becoming the peacemaker.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, there was that very weird moment in the 2024 campaign where at a Trump rally, for some reason, I don't know if we ever figured out why this was, but someone yelled, "Genocide Joe." And Trump was just like, "It's true. It's true." And what he was saying that whole time is that I will make a deal because I know how to make deals and these people don't know how to make deals. But, clearly a lot of blood on his hands. Let's get that straight. He's let this go on his entire second administration so far. But there does seem to be, because he's not, I don't want to do the like Trump dove thing, but it is a little hard to imagine Biden applying any kind of pressure, or a Harris administration. It was not clear. I mean, she herself said there was no daylight between, or she said, I can't, no differences come to mind. But in theory, maybe she would have done something like this. It's very hard to imagine that, just given what her administration as vice president was doing.
I really, I, I mean, everything she's doing right now, the like book tour and shit, and every time she gets fucking yelled at by a protester, she talks down to him about this and stuff.
Yeah.
She's been saying, usually she just diverts and says like, well, Donald Trump, and then everyone claps and goes, yeah, he's bad or whatever. But she said a few times like she sort of like shirked the responsibility in a way that is like flat out lying. It's just not true, but she's presented her defense as like, well, that wasn't my job when I was vice president. Like, that was Joe Biden. I had nothing to do with that. And it's like, well, you were in the fucking executive branch of the government. Like, I'm sorry, you have some sort of fucking sway there. But also, it doesn't matter to argue that like from her point of view is being unfairly put on her is complete bullshit, because when you're running for president, one of the things you do is you tell people what you are going to do when you're president. And she did nothing in the way of ameliorating anyone's anxiety about how she ostensibly was set up to continue the genocide, because she was from the cabinet that fucking started this uptick in the genocide. So, why didn't you say, I'm going to do this differently, right? You're running for fucking president. It's still on you to say that. And if you fucking lose because people don't believe you're not going to do it, that you're not going to stop this shit, then, that's it looks a lot like you probably would have just continued to do the genocide and intended to, and didn't want to commit to doing anything about it because reasons, right?
Yeah.
Interests and fucking who you get your shit from and everything, and who you want to not make go back on promises against or whatever, which is also crazy to me because like she could have just lied. I don't understand why the Democrats never just lie. Like, Trump never built the wall. You can just run on shit you're not going to do, but whatever. Anyways, are we there?
That's basically it. Yeah, they are going to be U.S. troops deployed, but only to Israel. They are, according to
They're sending the fat guys from the Texas National Guard.
yeah, who are not going to set foot in Gaza officially. And there's going to be an Arab-led international security force, and Palestinians will be able to be police, but it's not clear if they're going to have any military capabilities. And there's also a possibility, Trump has not ruled this in or out, but there's rumors that Tony Blair will be in charge of whatever kind of society is set up or attempted to be set up after the there's a final plan.
Good Lord. Okay, bring the British back in. That's going to make everyone feel really great, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, this is interesting. Obviously, we'll continue to talk about this in the show. Can't say I'm incredibly optimistic about this. We've heard the term ceasefire a few times at this point. They kind of don't tend to stick. Israel keeps killing people after they do stuff like this. There's a journalist in Gaza that was like riding around like kind of in the top of a car, like it's over, the war is over, right? Like a few days ago. IDF killed him like yesterday. So I don't know. But it does feel like something maybe, what do you call it? there's a word I'm looking for. It feels like this one's significant. Why couldn't I remember that word?
Yeah.
About this, and that this is probably a legitimate turning point. And unfortunately, you do have to hand it to him. They set it up. They set it up to where this could happen. anyways, that's the news of the week. I've got something really incredible that I want to talk about as we round this out. This is the main course today. I don't know how else to just segue into this. It's about the Antichrist. So Peter Thiel apparently is been going on. He's been going on a lecture tour, right, where he talks mainly about basically who he thinks the Antichrist is. So where is it? There are a number of influences that are seemingly going into this. I'm reading a lot of the direct transcripts of it. It's insane, so it's hard to decipher. But he says he's drawing from a number of religious thinkers, including the French-American theorist René Girard, whom Thiel knew at Stanford University, and the Nazi jurist, who is a person I'm currently kind of obsessed with, as you might know as a listener, Carl Schmitt. He's talking about a lot. Interesting, makes a lot of sense given where the world's at right now. And whose work he said, by the way, helped create the core of his own beliefs. That's not good. But anyways, he credited the English Catholic theologian John Henry Newman as the inspiration for his 4-part series, saying, Newman, how does he talk? He's always sweaty. Newman did it in 4, so I'm doing it in 4. I'm happy about it. So that's why it's a 4-part fucking live stand-up comedy. Could he say that? Lecture series. It's crazy. Apparently, it's like $200 a ticket. They do the Dave Chappelle shit where they take your phone and everything. You're not allowed to like report on what he's saying or record it. People have had their social media accounts taken down just for like talking about what he said on these tours. But apparently someone managed to record something, and so there's been this big article in the Guardian just basically going over the entire talk, and it is fucking awesome. It's so crazy, dude. So basically, Peter Thiel is giving this talk, and he's kind of going through like this huge, like he's just going through a number of what do you call it when you're conducting an investigation? Suspects, I guess, for who the Antichrist could be. He's pretty certain that there is an Antichrist happening right now. And so that it's broken down like fucking weapons or something, you know. Chapter 1, let's talk about Barack Obama. You know, chapter 2, fucking somebody else. So I'm gonna go through a bunch of it right now. It's a lot. So also important to his beliefs here is he gets into some stuff that's in a very specific part of the Bible, and it also is in some pagan theology, I think, which is this concept called the catechon. So the catechon with a K is, in short, like the thing that's holding back the Antichrist. So he goes through a lot of catechons and a lot of Antichrists and explains, this is sort of his like based or chuggy, right? Is like cat, you know, fucking Charlie Kirk catechon. Fucking David Hogg Antichrist. He starts with, God, where does he start? There's a lot of them. There's Greta Thunberg is one of the big ones. She's really fixated on the fact on Greta Thunberg in the sense that he sort of is arguing that the Antichrist, apparently, according to the Bible, was someone who will be manipulating people on the basis of an existential threat. So he considers someone who is a climate activist, someone who is manipulating people to scare them to be under their control as an Antichrist. And this all has to do with the idea of like international, global, like government stuff being what he sees as the ultimate culmination of the Antichrist. And so someone like Greta Thunberg, who's an international activist who's trying to sort of like maybe get things together on an international, law level to regulate climate, like much like Kim Stanley Robinson's book, The Ministry for the Future, that sort of thing. That's Antichrist shit, and Catachon basically keeps coming back to like he goes through a lot of individuals in this process, but basically he sort of says that the Catachon itself is just neoliberalism and anti-communism in general is what's holding back the Antichrist. So let's go through a few of these. Oh, also another reason that the Antichrist is like international, global, he's kind of one of these people who like goes off about like the one world government, like Alex Jones or whatever, is because things like the fucking what is it, the international, what do you call it, he's talking about like international financial bodies and how they make it hard to hide one's money and use like offshore tax loopholes and stuff like that. That's the Antichrist. This is the one stopping you from doing that. Here's some quotes from this thing. He says, they started arresting more and more people. Rodrigo Duterte, the former president of the Philippines, was arrested this year. They had arrest warrants out for Netanyahu and Gallant. This is him talking, by the way. I don't know if I made that clear. I should talk like him. When I met Netanyahu early in 2024, about a year and a half ago, we talked about what he's doing in Gaza. And the one-liner he had was, quote, I can't just Dresdenize Gaza. You can't just firebomb them. So it's like, come on, I'm less of a war criminal than Winston Churchill. Why am I in so much trouble? That's something that he's revealing that Netanyahu said to him. Is like, he wants to firebomb like Dresden, Gaza. And he's like, but I can't. They won't let me, Why am I in so much trouble? I'm not even firebombing them. Let's see. Yeah, so ICC, he gets into a little bit. He also is really obsessed with Mark Andreessen, the other weird, freaky tech guy who, for some reason, blocked me on Twitter. I didn't know who he was until at one point, and I looked him up, and he's not trying to see any of my "you gone to be kidding me" jokes. Apparently, his loss. So he says at one point, my thesis is that the 17th, 18th century, the Antichrist, or in the 17th or 18th century, the Antichrist would have been a Dr. Strangelove, a scientist who did all this sort of evil, crazy science. In the 21st century, the Antichrist is a Luddite who wants to stop all science. It's someone like Greta or a laser. A laser's another activist. He's really obsessed with Greta. So let's see. He also talks about Bill Gates a lot. Like, this is his show is, imagine the big PowerPoint behind him. He clicks it, next person's face comes up. Bill Gates, is he the Antichrist? Let's discuss. And the Bill Gates section, he talks a lot about how Bill Gates, according to him, has like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde personality that infuriates him. So he's like, every time you see him in public, Bill Gates is like Mr. Rogers. This is like literally something he said. He's like Mr. Rogers, but I've seen the Hyde.
Wow. Okay. So it sounds like he's reacting to Bill Gates like a lot of billionaires have, just feeling pressure to try to seem somewhat relatable and be like a little more pleasant in front of the masses and not be the exact same ghoul, on air that he is behind closed doors, which Thiel has no ability to do. Like he's not, he does not mask, if you will. He's all Thiel all the time, and that's all evil.
He's all wet all the time. Yeah, he's literally just glistening with it. He clearly, this is honestly, this is like very funny because this is like, he thinks he's making this presentation about the Antichrist. It's kind of a one-man show about his actual, like, what's going on inside of his feelings and stuff inside of Peter. I think he's airing a lot of his personal grievances through this Antichrist witch hunt, and he really, really does not like Bill Gates. And he says that the Mr. Hyde part of Bill Gates, where he says, I saw him, is that he has nonstop Tourette's, yelling swear words, almost incomprehensible what was going on, he says, when he hung out with him, that happened. But he rounds out the Bill Gates thing by saying, listen, the problem with Bill Gates is that Bill Gates thinks that like he says he compares him to Richard Dawkins and says they believe that science and atheism are compatible, which according to Peter Thiel, they are not. He's saying that's actually like, no, too rationalist. You have all this shit we're doing in the tech world has to be like in service of God, obviously, because he's someone who's hunting the Antichrist. He says, I don't think even someone like Bill Gates, who I think is a very, very awful person, is remotely able to be the Antichrist. Okay.
Huh.
Up next, the Pope. So
that would be a
talks
good
about
way to fool everybody. Where they least expect.
you hide in plain sight, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't really answer whether he thinks the Pope is the Antichrist or not. He sort of meanders into this thing where he connects him to AOC, and he says that like I really don't want to have Pope Leo be the Pope while AOC is president, because that's going to create, in his words, a woke Pope, woke Caesar, like it's like a fucking head of state papacy. There's like a term for it. All these people use these like esoteric Steve Bannon terms, and there's a term for it. It's losing me, but it's woke papacy Caesar something.
Leo is less woke than his predecessor, Frank. I don't know what he's worried about. He's an American Pope. He's not going to be as woke as probably many potential popes.
I think he's been good about Gaza is what's going on.
Oh,
and it's like really throwing some people and a few other things. I think he's kind of doing some nods here and there. There's just weird that we still have a Pope in 2025 and they have to be like non-binary people are cool with God or whatever every few years. Like,
it seems like he's very much like trying to apply the logic of the church's teachings as accurately as possible, which is just to be against moral abominations throughout the world, but also be like socially conservative.
Yeah, I don't know. That Simpsons commercial where during the Super Bowl, where like it's at your daddy's church or whatever. Anyways, Elon. So he talks about Elon and he's very like soft on him. He doesn't really discuss whether he thinks Elon's the Antichrist. He just sort of goes into this thing about Elon where he's like talking about how he's worried that Elon is going to die. And he says Elon's actually a really nice guy and he's like smart or something. And so he's saying that he had a conversation with Elon where he's worried about how he's going to die. He's also really fixated on how money gets passed down when people die is part of this for some reason. He talks about succession a bunch of times and then he kind of brings this back to Elon. And he says this,
or
the show. Yeah, he talks about the TV show Succession. He says, and then I, one step ahead, rethought it and said, you don't think about this much because you don't expect to die anytime soon, but you're 54 years old. I looked up the actuarial tables. At 54, you have a 0.7 chance of dying in the next year, and 0.7 of 200 billion is 1.4 billion, about 7 times what you gave Mr. Trump. So Mr. Gates is effectively expecting, okay, so basically what he's saying is that he's worried about the richest man in the world, Elon Musk's money when he dies. And he's saying, you have, it's possible you're going to die. And apparently Elon Musk signed some document in like 2012, I want to say, like way back, where he said on some level he promised to give away half of his money. And I don't think it's a fucking legal document. I think it was like some weird publicity thing or something. But he's worried about where that money is going to go because he's saying, if you're not careful, he's saying you shouldn't commit to giving away half of your money because if you give it to someone, it's probably going to go to like Bill Gates.
Taker, by definition, would be a taker. Oh, that would go to another billionaire.
Well, he thinks that it's going to go
like a foundation. Okay.
He thinks that he says he gave $200 million to the Trump campaign. He's like, that's good. But if you end up giving your money away and you aren't careful, it might end up in Bill Gates' hands because Bill Gates is like this philanthropist who, in Peter Thiel's mind, donates to left-wing causes, right? Which is just a bunch of nonprofits and shit, which Bill Gates does, but those are not like left-wing, with capital L, right? Anyways,
my high school, for instance.
Really? Wow.
Project, yeah.
Damn. So to his credit, Elon was this is Thiel again. To his credit, Elon was pretty fluid on it. He said, actually, I think the odds of me dying are higher than 70 basis points.
70
So
basis points. Did he reinvent percents? It's like a new mathematical sort of measurement thing.
it's like some shit from like Star Trek or something.
Yeah.
That's not a thing. Right? So I don't know whether he means the 70% chance he's going to die or what 70 basis points means. That's just what Elon said to him. It's higher than 70 basis points. Probably because, he's aware of things going on in the world and is aware people don't like him. So he might not be wrong. Then Elon says, what am I supposed to do? Give it to my children? I certainly can't give it to my trans daughter. That would be bad. It would be much worse to give it to Bill Gates. So fuck Elon Musk. Apparently that's how he feels about his money. Let's see. We talks about Charlie Kirk a little bit. Not really that interesting. Okay, he talks about Watchmen a little bit. Gulliver's Travels, all sorts of weird shit. In Watchmen, he says the anti-hero Ozymandias, the Antichrist type figure, is sort of an early modern person. He believes this will be a timeless and eternal solution, eternal world peace. More is a sort of late modern. In early modernity, you have ideal solutions, perfect solutions to calculus. In late modernity, things are sort of probabilistic. At this point, he asks Dr. Manhattan, I don't know, some shit. That one kind of meanders on. But basically, I'm really all right. There's a few more candidates he goes through. He goes through Zoran Mamdani. He says, I don't think Mamdani can be president because he's not a natural born citizen. So he's capped out at mayor. I also don't think he's really promised to reduce my taxes. That does not answer whether or not he thinks he's the Antichrist. But he says something where he's talking to Peter Robinson and saying the Antichrist is really cool, glamorous, hip operator. Is that Zoran? That's how that comes up. So he goes through all these things that the Antichrist supposedly like offers people. He's supposed the Antichrist is supposed to be like a smooth operator, charismatic, right? So he's like, ooh, Zoran, maybe. And at one point when he's talking about Zoran, he meanders off and he says he's very pro JD Vance. I don't know if he means he's pro JD Vance, like he likes him, or he's pro suspects he's the Antichrist, but it sounds like he just likes him because he's a conservative. He says the place that I would worry about is that he's too close to the Pope. So we all have these reports of fights between him and the Pope. I hope there are a lot more. It's the Caesar Papist fusion. That's the term I was looking for earlier. It's the Caesar Papist fusion that I always worry about. By the way, I've given him this feedback over time. And, with this sort of, I don't like his popism, but there's sort of way I feel if there's a sort of a way if I steel manned it. I don't know what the fuck that means. It
just means that like the opposite of straw man. Like you try to argue against your opponent's best argument instead of their weakest or the one that they're not actually arguing.
I see. I guess also he hates the Pope because he's like a big Protestant, I guess is what's going on here. It's always, you have to think about whether if you say you're doing something good, whether it's a command, a standard, a limit on whether in philosophical language is necessary or sufficient. So when JD Vance said that he was praying for Pope Francis's health, it's as a command, as a necessary thing. Okay, if you're a lot more, if you're a good Catholic, but what I hope it really means is that it's sufficient and that he's setting a good example for conservative Catholics like you, Peter. Whatever. You don't really need to listen to him on anything else. And if that's what JD Vance is doing, that's really good. I'm worried about the Caesar Papist fusion. I don't know what the fuck half of that meant, but he's worried about the Caesar Papist fusion. Gavin Newsom, I would say that if we go to the catatonic thing, and the U.S. is that tech and politics are radically separate. Silicon Valley is really, really separate from D.C. This is a really, really long thing. It gets into Silicon Valley off of talking about whether or not Gavin Newsom is the Antichrist. Anyways, all of this keeps going, and in one of the lectures, he then plays a 60-minute segment about a German law that cracks down on online hate speech. So he kind of gets into like the one world government, like censorship thing, and finally lands on something really incredible. So I'm just going to read some more directly from the fucking piece here because you just have to hear it. Thiel later finds biblical meaning in the manga One Piece, discussing how he believes it represents a future where an Antichrist-like one world government has repressed science. Are you
Damn.
familiar with what I'm talking about? One
I
Piece?
I have friends who are very into One Piece, and I'm somewhat familiar with the lore. I know it's a very like the guy started it when he was like a teenager, and he's still doing it into his like 40s or whatever. And it's a very intricately designed sort of world that has there is sort of a radical bent to it, right? There's a sort of a capitalist system that they're thwarting or something like that.
I have no idea what it's about. I
Okay.
thought it was about pirates, but
It is. It is. But it's like a planet that's mostly ocean, and there are pirates on it, and apparently it's a very beautiful sort of just everything. But I'm have not sat down and begun it yet.
shout out to pirates. A pirate heavy episode. Look
Mm-hmm.
at me. I am the Antichrist now. We should maybe have someone from Ball and Out's Super come on and talk about the show One Piece in under an extensive
Yeah.
microscope and try and figure out whether it's Antichrist shit or not. I don't know. Maybe for bonus content. So he says. So again, I don't know anything about fucking One Piece. I've never watched it. I like anime. I've just never watched it. There's a million episodes of it. It's very daunting to me.
Yeah.
So please, if you're in our audience, talk to us in the Discord and on the fucking Patreon and everything. If any of this tracks, I'm just gonna read what he said about One Piece. He believes that the hero Monkey D. Luffy represents a Christ-like figure. Quote, in One Piece, you are set in a fantasy world against a sort of an alternate Earth, but it's 800 years into the reign of this one world state, which, as the story unfolds, gradually gets darker and darker. You sort of realize, in my interpretation, who runs the world, and it's something like the Antichrist. There's Luffy, a pirate who wears a red straw hat. He's sort of like it's sort of like Christ's crown of thorns. And then, towards the end of the story, transforms into a figure who resembles Christ in Revelation. Now, I have not seen the show. I was from tweeting this and also just from looking at shit online and having a vague image of this. I don't think this is accurate. I don't think that Luffy wears a red straw hat. I don't know, but he's saying symbolically the hat is like a crown of thorns.
Like Jesus wore.
Exactly. So anyways, it's only $200 a ticket, and listen, we don't often promote things on the show other than our own shows, but go out and catch him if you can. He's a fucking riot. He's a hoot, and he's an online sensation, and you have to see it live.
I'm
Peter
surprised
Thiel, everyone.
his branding does not utilize the color teal more, because it's it's right there in the name. I'm a little disappointed by that.
He has hella branding too. Everything he does is like from Lord of the Rings and shit. Like Palantir is named after a thing from all that stuff. So you would think, but his name, well, I mean, it's not spelled like that. I don't know. You know what? If you're listening, Peter, we have some fucking notes for you, and maybe we could, you could get us on the production team, and we'll jazz some things up. We'll make you more accessible to Gen Z because they need to hear about the Antichrist. They don't like sex scenes in movies, and they don't know about the Antichrist. I'm really worried about them. All right. Well, I think that's all the news that's fit to tell this week. Got anything remote?
Yes, if you're in New York City, come on out to the special paid protest presents roast of Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams. Going to be Friday, this coming Friday, 10/17, doors at 7, show at 7:30 at Silo in Bushwick. We're raising money to make sure that this evil man, who just so happens to be Italian, named Andrew Cuomo, is not elected the mayor and is humiliated. It's not enough to just beat him. He needs to be totally blown out of the water and sent back into whatever he's going to end up doing. Probably a podcast with Barry Weiss at some point. So that also sign up for our Patreon, where you can join our Discord, where you can see my short film, which I'm not sure if anyone actually has from the Discord yet, but I did put it in sort of an obscure channel. But as is the case with all artistic projects, don't rely on your friends, or in this case, even your fans, to watch the thing. You have to go out there and find your new audience. But obviously, it was something I worked on for a couple of years, and I haven't seen the end of it yet. There's some things looming, but you can watch an unlisted video of it on our Discord under Andersley fans. I don't want to say the name of it because there are like weird exclusivity agreements. So this is very primo stuff, sort of like watching a Peter Thiel session is like watching my short film, which I may or may not have made with our pal Donald Bornstein, who's working for Zeron.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go watch the movie, and then I will leak the contents of the film to the Guardian, and we'll make an article about it, and then we'll discuss it on the show.
That'll be great.
Everyone will know. Yeah. So let me think. I don't really think I have any shows coming up, and you already promoted the Patreon. Hey, thank you for listening, everyone. Check out our fucking Patreon. It helps us make the show, and in general, just thank you. Send in your fucking music if you want us to play music at the end of the show here. Just in general, I think I'm just gonna keep doing this because it's fun, but also because it's Halloween, and you know I fucking love October, spooky ass shit. Okay, I think that's it. And you're the Catachon on the Antichrist. It's finished.